Well, let's move now from banking to booze. And Sedgwick's Old Brown Sherry has been a liquor cabinet staple for years. But times move on and brands need to rejuvenate. So we spoke to brand manager Kelly Johnson earlier in the week about a new billboard execution that really has motorists looking upwards. We'll talk about the campaign in just a moment, but just the choice of medium, sherry meeting outdoor. I'd suggest to you that maybe an in-store campaign would work better.
Yeah, I think you know, if you had to look at the traditional kind of environments that we've normally played in, is we've moved from a brand where we just used to talk pack and price, and that was really what we were about. We've now moved to a lifestyle brand, and we want to be in environments where you wouldn't necessarily expect us to be. So we want to be where consumers see us as fitting in naturally. So, and that's what our brand is about. We have a habit of popping up in many social environments, whether it's never really a forced engagement with our brand.
At the most unexpected times.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's always at the occasions of sharing with friends and family, and I think that has a lot to do with it. While we've chosen an innovative way of, instead of using, you know, the normal billboards, what we normally do, we've chosen a new way of communicating.
All right, let's talk to that
lifestyle.
then. Got the billboard.
Yes.
What do we see?
What you see is an enormous billboard, which is essentially a glass box, which would be on the N1 freeway in Cape Town, Western Cape. And what you will see is a almost 5-meter high box with the Sedgwick's Old Brown 750ml bottle almost being 4 meters of that 5 meters. So it's huge, dominant in terms of the showcase.
That's a big bottle of sherry.
That's a big bottle of sherry, yeah.
And just for the record, there is no sherry in that, is there?
Correct. We actually have moved away from, if you will notice, our name is actually Sedgwick's Original Old Brown. And the reason for that is it's really got to do with European legislation. We can't use the name. Use the name sherry because we are actually not produced within the sherry in the Spanish Triangle, which is an area within Spain. So for that reason, we are now Sedgwick's, the Original Old Brown.
But I mean, people make the connection.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
I mean, consumers refer to us as OBs. I mean, they've got lots of ways of referring to us.
The purpose then of the campaign, is this a broad brand builder or is this a call to purchase?
I would say it's about brand building, it's equity. I think if you look at the age of the brand, 97 years old, it's about top of mind awareness again. You know, it's just, you know, making people relate to us see us in a different light. It's really breathing new life into the brand. It's rejuvenating what the brand stands for. So a lot of it is about brand building. But I think what's really fascinating about the big idea is that it's not just going to be a 1-year burst. It's got longevity for a couple of years, if not more than that.
You know, I always get nervous when brand managers talk about rejuvenating the brand, because a brand like this, I know that you have to keep it contemporary, but you don't want to rejuvenate something like this with a pedigree too much, do you?
Absolutely.
You've got to find that balance.
Yeah, you do, and I think that's where we don't want to ever be a brand that's for, you know, the rich man and the poor man of South Africa, because we know it can easily go into that territory. A lot of brands make that mistake. They pitch their campaigns far too high, and the consumers that used to use them, you know, the source of volume actually can't actually relate to the brand anymore. So that's why we've used real, relatable moments in our communication. And no matter where you are, emerging or emerged consumers, they can relate to those moments where Sedgwick's is part of your lifestyle. All right,
you've gone into Cape Town with this with this billboard.
Yes,
do we not qualify here in Johannesburg? Do we not drink sherry in Johannesburg?
Jeremy, really, I mean, we've chosen, this is the first of its kind, really. I mean, we are breaking a lot of barriers in terms of fortified wine, for that matter. And we want to it's always good to trial these sorts of campaigns, but definitely we'll look for expansion in areas that are going to give us good visibility, and I believe Johannesburg would be one of those areas.
Do you know what, Kelly Johnson?
Yes.
It's a very diplomatic answer. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's stay with outdoor ambient media, and the challenge these days I'm going to suggest to you is to take the concept from 2D to 3D and beyond. And some thinking on this now as we talk to Lelanie Butler from one of the big players in the industry at Continental Outdoor. Lelanie, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. You've brought some very interesting examples of how brands are elevating themselves in the outdoor space. But first of all, I'm going to suggest to you that it's critical that brands get off the billboard page these days, so to speak. But often they default to the safe, don't they?
Absolutely, they do. And I think that's mostly due to outdoor being the third or fourth media choice when planners or your marketers plan for outdoor. So it results in designers just putting a print ad on the billboard. But in saying that, outdoors really moved a very long way, working closely now with creative houses and producing great, fantastic outdoor examples.
They don't like risk, do they?
No, absolutely
How do you convince
not.
them to say you have to be risky if you're going to succeed in an outdoor strategy?
Well, basically from a Continental Outdoor media perspective, we've launched a division called Contagious, which is our creative design division. And besides trying to give guidance and advice on how to create for outdoor, we also do a lot of other measures because we do understand it is risky to spend money on an execution that might not deliver. So what we've done from our side is actually come to clients and creative agencies and marketers and saying, use our services because we offer pre-creative distance testing. Will it work in a run-up of 150 meters or 10 meters? Further to that, we actually offer focus groups. We will actually take the execution and measure it and see if it's going to be effective.
All right, that's all the theory. Let's work through some of the examples now. Airwick is one that you've brought along with you.
Yes.
What happens there and why does that work?
Well, Airwick was a very interesting concept because it was a difficult product to actually just put on a static 2D creative. And we actually challenged the creative agency.
It's difficult to get excited about toilets.
No, absolutely. But it was such a beautiful product with its whole LED lighting effect. And we wanted to replicate the exact product on the billboard. And we brought a whole 3D element with a glass candle in front of it using LED to create that lighting effect. And no static billboard could have gotten that message across.
Doom was the one you've mentioned earlier.
Doom.
Again, an interesting thing, and I think the creative opportunity around around something like that is enormous, isn't it?
Fantastically, it's a brilliant opportunity. This is also a great example where interactivity was used, using the outdoor media platform where only one creative billboard was used. It was a TBWA concept. They came to Continental Outdoor Media and said, we wanted to create a Doom wall of shoes billboard. So it was a whole new customized, tailor-made solution we had to work on, working with over 5,000 shoes that we had to replicate almost on a paint-by-numbers grid to actually get the whole formula of the Doom can across. But a fantastic execution where they launched the entire campaign using a billboard and then used activations around the billboard site. They had KFM actually launching and broadcasting live from site, and they engaged with the consumers, launching a competition to guess how many shoes equals the power of Doom. So it was extremely interactive.
Oh, it's a great creative idea, isn't it? I would also suggest to you that if good outdoor is going to work these days, you've got to be prepared to spend a little money. An execution like that, for instance, it is expensive, let's be honest.
No, absolutely it is expensive, but I don't want marketers or creative agencies to steer away from creativity because of a cost factor. There are some really fantastic, clever ideas that you can execute with a minimal fee.
Eno, I think, is one that has the glass of water, and you can actually see the effervescence of the product.
That's it. That's Panado. It's their new
It's
extension,
Panado, is it?
yes.
Correct. And that's the one that you refer to.
Yes.
Eno's, what has Eno done?
Eno is also an effervescent effect, but two totally different applications. If you look at Panado, Draft FCB basically challenged us and shared the creative brief with us. And we said, instead of doing a static billboard, let's bring it to life. And we brought a 3D concept of a big glass again, filling it with water and using a blower to create that effervescent effect. Fantastic solution, and it worked extremely well. Very differently to Eno, it was also an effervescent effect, but there we used polystyrene balls and blowers to get these balls and that effect across to the consumer on the road.
So the one, someone actually got to go and physically fill it up with water all the time with a hose.
Well, ideally that wasn't the plan, but yes, there's been some leakage, and you'll see often we'll have to send somebody in just to top it up.
Part of the magic
it works.
of it.
It's part of innovation, yes.
What about Renault?
Renault is a very simple execution. Again, that's a very low cost but effective idea where they wanted to advertise the LED on their headlights, and we just put LED strips in, and that engages and creates movement again for your consumer on the road.
Wimbledon?
Wimbledon was a campaign we literally had to turn around in 48 hours. We wanted to create a whole effect where it looked like the actual Wimbledon tennis courts. So we used AstroTurf, sprayed on the AstroTurf, flighted on it, and said, basically engage with us every day, because we wore up the baseline every day as it reflected on TV.
Through the duration of the tournament.
Yeah, so as it was at the end, you'll see the whole baseline was also worn off completely. So it's a nice engagement again.
That's Lelanie Butler, Sales Director at Continental Outdoor. Coming up on our programme, bringing brand communications to life through the power of mascots and also that dancing pony ad that has people all over the world talking.
You know that I'm proud and I can't get the words out.